Big lesson today. It's one that really lands on me personally, so it means a lot to me. But remember, we got creation, fall. Remember that? Started out great, perfect, awesome. The fall came, sin enters the earth, everything goes sideways, right? That's what we're dealing with right now. Things are not as they should be. Okay, we have an enemy, we have opposition, we have a lot of stuff working against us. The next phase is redemption. I almost said redeem. Redemption is what we're in right now. God is redeeming. He is purchasing back what was originally His, and He is restoring these things. Okay, so you have to understand that, because that's the context within the biblical worldview. Right here, the big story of God has to do with creation, fall, redemption. Okay, so today we're starting out in a period of time. We're gonna basically start with Joseph today. Talk about Joseph. Y'all remember Joseph? Joseph's story is a wild and crazy story, but a whole lot of stuff's going into it. I'm going to try to limit it so that I don't have to talk the whole time, and we can get into some small group time, although that's going to be difficult. But let's start with this first. Y'all remember Abraham? Start out with Abraham. Abraham's covenant. What's the Abraham covenant? What is in it? What do you think?
Nation.
Land,
Seed.
nation, seed.
Okay.
Did I say that for you? Y'all remember that? Land, nation, seed. That's what God said He's going to do for Abraham. He's going to do it through Abraham. So you got Abraham and Sarah. And they have a supernatural son named Isaac. And we talked a whole lot about that. Then you got Isaac and Rachel. And they have two sons, Jacob and Esau. That's what we talked about last time. And then Jacob is who the Lord goes through. The seed line is going to come through. The inheritance line is coming through Jacob. And then Jacob gets himself into all kinds of trouble. Okay? So we're going to take Jacob here just so we can see it. Jacob first. We're not going to get into the story, so I'm going to just go over it really fast. Jacob goes to another land to get his wife. Right? He runs into this girl named Rachel. Yes. And it's love at first sight. I mean, if the Bible what goes on and lets us know that Rachel is a knockout. Like, she's just like, whoa. And I mean, so it's love at first sight. This guy's like, this is the one. Okay? And it's a deep, deep love and affection that he has immediately for Rachel. And so he's like, cool, I found my woman. Let's go. So here's the problem. Rachel's dad is a bit of a schemer, a lot like Jacob. So Jacob meets his match in that regard. This guy's name's Laban. Okay. Now Laban has another daughter who's older named Leah, and so the father in those days would want the oldest to marry first, right? And so he comes up with this deal. He says, "Look, you work for me 7 years, and you can have Rachel, my daughter, for your wife." He's like, "Cool, man." The Bible says that 7 years was like nothing because of his love was so great for Rachel. So he works his 7 years. They have the wedding. He goes in to consummate the marriage. The next day he wakes up, pulls back her, whatever's on her face, that he doesn't know what's going on, and it's not Rachel. It's Leah. You got the wrong girl. Done married her. So he gets tricked into that one, right? So he's like, "Laban, what are you doing? I wanted Rachel." And he's like, "Well, I can't just give you my second daughter. My first one's got to get married first. I'll tell you what, it'll work out. You work for me another 7 years, we'll give you Rachel then." Okay? So he does that. So here he's got two wives though. Y'all got this? You got Leah, and then you got Rachel. Okay? Now, and the Bible goes ahead and says something sort of negatively, kind of appearance-wise about Leah. So you got ugly sister, knockout sister. Okay? And Jacob got tricked into marrying an ugly sister, so he's not too happy about that to begin with, right? So this is where the mess begins. And this is also the redemption part of the Bible. I've heard people who talk against the Bible, who want to discredit God and all the things that come go with God. They're like, well, look at the Bible. They had all these guys had multiple wives, and they did all these horrible, awful things. And we're like, yeah, that's in the Bible. They did do that, and they suffered horrifically for it. See, because God is trying to redeem that type of decision. God's saying, look, guys, if you go with what you want and what you think works, it's going to end up badly. You're going to suffer for it. I've got a better way. I'd like to give you a better way than what you know right now. Now, back then, that's what they were doing. They were doing stuff like multiple wives. Okay? They just saw, hey, she's hot, she's hot, she's hot. Hey, come on. Right? I mean, it's dumb. But see, once you do that, and then they just throw in a few concubines on the side too. You know what a concubine was? It's sort of like a sort of wife. Sort of like a, yeah. And so it's like a mistress with a little bit of, they got a little bit of legal something, but not the full boat. And so it's just another couple out here. Now what that does is that creates unbelievable issues within the home. Jacob starts out with Leah, he goes to Rachel. Now they get into this battle of who can have the most kids. Okay? Yes. Because that was important back then. Right? Now Leah, the ugly one, she starts having kids like crazy. Just right out of the gate. Bam, 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 bam. Now Rachel's up here going upset about that because she can't have kids. She's like she's barren and she's not having kids, and so she's like, I got my handmaid here, and what I'll do is you get in there, get pregnant. You can have the baby with me right there. It'll be my baby. So get in there, get me in the game. So she sends in her handmaiden to Jacob. And her handmaiden starts having some kids. So she's like, yes. Okay, her handmaiden's name is Bilhah. I forgot it there for a second. So you got Bilhah, the handmaiden. And so Leah has several kids right out of the gate. Then Rachel throws in Bilhah. Get me in the game. She has a couple kids. Then Leah looks at that and goes, well, I've slowed down. So I'll get my handmaid in the game. She throws her handmaid in the ring. Her name's Zilpah. Zilpah has a couple kids. Then the whole time Rachel's crying out to God, God, I want kids, I want kids. And Jacob's praying for her. Rachel finally has a kid named Joseph. Old golden boy Joseph is born. Okay? All the while, Leah gets kicked up again. She spits out a couple more. So she's got 5, I think, in all. Leah's got 5. Rachel's got a couple. Zilpah's got 2. Bilhah's got a few. What comes out of that, guys, if I were to mark them all out there, is that is going to be the nation. 12 sons. That's going to turn into the nation of Israel. Okay? Y'all have heard the 12 tribes, right? The 12 tribes are named after the sons' names. Y'all follow that? Okay, so that's the nation part. After all that mess, erase this. It's a bunch of mess here. Okay, so here's the problem with all that. Here's the problem with all that. You've got some massive confusion going on within this household. You've got backbiting. You've got turmoil. You've got people who are upset at other people, and they're all vying for Jacob's favor. You know, we got a messed up family situation. Then on top of that, we've got really bad parenting. Okay? See, because they're not in this all together. Rachel and Leah and Jacob, they're not on the same page here. And let me go ahead and tell you this for later on, when you're married, it helps to be on the same page with your wife concerning your kids. Because you know what kids do? They're smart. They work the angles from early on. If they go to mom does not say what they would like that mom to say. They They got another move after that. It's dad. They just come to do the same thing. Hey, Dad. And then when Dad says yes to what Mama said no to, then you got problems between Mom and Dad. Well, I said he couldn't do that. Well, I didn't know. I just said he could. I'll see you got contention in the home. Now, can y'all see how this, if you got two women and sons, and Rachel wants to be greater, and Leah wants to be greater, and her kids want to be greater, and my kids want to be greater. You're creating this scenario of cutthroat. I mean, it's a Shark Tank of a scenario. Everybody's playing somebody else to try to get to the goal, so to speak. Right? Now, this is a horrible, horrible situation that God's up there saying, oh, guys, I got so many good ideas I'd like to share with you to clear up this whole mess. But you guys aren't really seeking my face about these things yet. And we do. See, over time, when people really have a heart for God and they begin to seek Him and say, God, show me the better way, God begins to show the better way. He says, if you want a sound family. Now, why do we have trouble? First of all, let's talk about this. Let's say that God's creation is perfect. And then the fall comes into play. What happened in the fall? How did the fall take place? Was Eve just around the tree one day and she's all on her own and she's like, you know what, that really looks good. I think I'm just going to eat it. Is that what happened? What happened? Satan was in there. What he was pressing, he had an agenda. He was working it. See, so after she fell from his help of deception, that's what we're dealing with, guys. We're dealing with dark forces that are real. They do not play fair. They're not asking, hey, can I come in and play? No, the enemy is going to force his way through the door, and he's going to have his way with you. He doesn't play fair at all. He's got no conscience. There's no good in him. And that's what is working against mom and dad, son and daughter, everybody. We have this thing against us, okay? That's why we need the Lord. God, please break through this barrier of oppression and darkness and give me your ways and then strengthen me to walk in those ways so that I don't suffer and so that my kids don't suffer. Because without you, I'm going to make some horrendous decisions that are going to be awful for everybody involved. And that's what we see in the Old Testament. We see one horrific, awful, terrible decision after another. And you see God sprinkling enough truth in there and enough help along the way to restore the mess and to build something out of it. And that's what He does over time. It's an awesome thing. He restores. He is restoring messed up people. Okay? So, we're looking at this situation in this family here. Let me get to my chapter here because I need to look at, make sure I'm on track with where I'm going here. Now, so you got this scenario. Now check it out, guys. You got Leah with a bunch of her boys. I can't remember if it's 5. I think she has 5 boys of her own that come from Jacob. Okay? And you got her handmaid. Okay, Zilpah, who has a couple. So you got 7 boys right there on Team Leah. We can call it that. Team Leah. Alright? Team Leah wants to win. We've got to get the gold. Backstab. Do whatever you got to do. But this is us. We're the ones that are going to take this. Y'all hear? That's the mentality. Then you got Team Rachel over here. Rachel's got a couple kids. She ends up dying having the last one. But she has a couple kids. And she's got Bilhah, her handmaiden, has a couple kids. So she's got like 4 kids. That's Team Rachel. Right? So you got these 2 family forces working. And then within the boys that were born from Leah and the boys that were born from Zilpah, they have their own little distinctions, you know, like you guys are like kind of half children. You know, you're not really the real deal like I am. You're like little halfsies over here. You know, not quite there yet. You know, and so you got that kind of scenario going on, even between the different sects. Okay? The little groups. Okay? All this mess is going on. So these boys are a wreck. I could tell you a story if I can get to it. I'll tell you a little story about how they really are. Well, I'll just go ahead and tell you right now. One of Leah's boys, Leah also had a daughter named Dina. Dina goes wandering off. She goes to a party in the next town, and this guy rapes her. And but the Bible says he really loves her. He wants to marry her, but he rapes her. You might want to, if you like a girl, guys, you might not want to rape her first. You might want to not do it that way. It probably won't work out for you. Again, messed up people. So that's what happens. Okay? Now, here's what happens. When Leah's brothers find out, they're like, oh, is that right? You gonna rape my sister? Okay? They come rolling into town, and they do this little game with these guys. They're like, hey, I really want to marry your sister. Hey, let's be cool here. I want to marry her. I mean, I really like her. Sorry I raped her, but I really want to marry her. So will y'all be cool with that? And they're like, yeah, do that. We'll come into a covenant first, because we got this little thing called covenant with our God. So you have to cut your foreskin. All you guys, everybody in the whole city, you cut your foreskin, you come into covenant with us, we'll let you have our sister, it'll be great. They're like, yes! Because this guy's like a big shot in the city. And so he gets every male to circumcise himself, and so they're all in pain the next day, right? Like, oh my gosh, what have we done to ourselves? They're all like taking the day off, right? Because they're like, I can't move. So when they're taking a day off, Leah's sons stroll into town and kill them all. Murder, mass murder, town, all the males gone. Okay? This is the type of guys we're talking about. They're not your nice guys. Okay? They are the I'll kill you type of guys if you cross me in any kind of way. Right? And it goes on and on talking about the quality of people that we're talking about here. These guys are nasty cutthroaters, and they are like that to each other. Here's the problem. Mr. Joseph, the golden boy. Now, why is he the golden boy? Y'all know why?
He was from Rachel.
Because he was from Rachel, the favorite wife. That'd be another thing, that if you've got several wives, which I don't recommend that either, you might not want to have a favorite one. Y'all ever heard that? Like, don't play favorites. It's not going to work out for you. It doesn't. It causes all kinds of problems. But Jacob didn't know that, evidently, and Rachel's his favorite wife. And so when Rachel finally has a boy, that's his favorite boy. So y'all heard of the Code of Many Colors, right? So in Jacob's awesome parenting, Jacob has a parenting class, if you're a parent like me, that you should take it so you can do the opposite of it. Because he was terrible. So this is what he does. In this cutthroat environment, golden boy Joseph is set up above all of his other brothers. And he's like, come here, little Joseph. Let me love on you. Oh, look, little Joseph, I got you this perfect little coat. So you'll be different than all your brothers, and they'll love you for it, because you're my favorite. Hey, boys, look, this one's my favorite. See, I gave him a coat. He's different than you. And so then all the other brothers would go out to work, because they had to work. They're going out and doing all this work. And so this was Jacob's great parenting plan. I know what I'll do. I'll take my golden boy Joseph that I gave a coat that doesn't look like anyone else, and I'll send him out on snitch missions. I mean, it doesn't take a lot of brains to find out where this is going, right? Now Joseph, he's not too smart himself. He starts having these dreams. And this really helped out, right? He has these dreams. Then Joseph has a dream. When he told his brothers to it, they hated him even more. You know what his dream was about? Hey, I had these sheaves. Listen, guys, everybody gather around. There were these sheep. I had this dream last night. It's awesome. We were all out in the field. Had these sheaves. My sheaves stood over here. Yours came over and bowed down to my sheaf. What do you think about that? They're like, I want to kill you. That's what I think about that. So he's like, didn't catch on the first time, that didn't see their faces like they weren't. Awesome dream, Joseph. He didn't pick up on the fact that they were like, I'm going to kill you as soon as I can. Didn't pick up on that vibe. So the next day he has another dream, tells it to the whole family. That time he's like, family, gather in, have this awesome dream. Yeah, in this dream, everybody bows down to me. Even you, Mom and Dad. There. So Jacob finally said, son, are you stupid? Are you telling me that we're all going to bow down to you? He's like, that's what the dream was. Now Jacob kind of ponders that. The Bible says that he's like, I do come from a powerful lineage. What's this about? He's my favorite boy for a reason, I'm afraid. He starts pondering on it in that way. Now here's the thing. That dream was from God. Okay? But here's the problem. Y'all remember we talked about this. God knows the end from the beginning, right? 17-year-old Joseph, right here. If y'all had to give his character qualities in a word or two, what would you say about Joseph? What is he? Fine, upstanding. What? Dense would be a good one. What else?
Innocent.
Self-sacrificing. Innocent. You're being very generous.
Egotistical.
Egotistical. Okay, that would be a good one. Let me say it this way. Okay, am I being accurate here?
Yeah.
This is a spoiled brat. How many of y'all like the spoiled brats that you run into? Like, man, I want my
love
best friend to be
punching
a
them, so
spoiled
does
brat.
that count? I
What?
have to love punching them, so does that count?
Say it again.
I love punching them because one of them
Punch him. Okay, that's what we're getting at. So you got 17-year-old Joseph. Now here's the dream from the Lord, though. Remember, what's the dream? If it's from God, meaning it is going to take place, what does that mean? Joseph's going to be a big shot. People are going to bow down to him. Even his mom and dad. That's saying a lot in that time. Okay? That's a unique thing. Now here's God. God the Father. He's a perfect Father, right? He knows what he's doing. God the Father's looking down at poor Jacob and going, Jacob, I've got a plan for this boy, and you're raising him to be a spoiled brat, and it's not going to work out for where he's headed, so give me this boy. That's what God says. Joseph sent on a snitch mission, his last one. Runs up on the guys, he's looking around like, hey, Reuben, what are you doing over there? I'm telling Daddy. That type of thing. And they're like, no, you're not, buddy. Come up here. They strip that thing off of him. First, they're going to kill him. Right? And we know their character. They would have done that with no problem. Reuben speaks up. He's the firstborn. Reuben's the one that's like, I'm the one that's going to get all the noise. You guys will get some, but I'm the firstborn. I'm going to get it big time. So no. Let's not kill him. Let's throw him in a pit. He said, we'll throw him in a pit. And Reuben was thinking, I'll come back and get him later. And it'll be all right. I'll be the savior to Daddy then. Like, here's your golden boy. I brought him back. Right? And then, see, I always play in the angles. So they throw him in the pit. And Reuben goes off and does something else. While he's in the pit, here come the Ishmaelites. They're on their way to Egypt. And they're going to, they decide, hey, let's not kill him. Let's just sell him into slavery. Just never have to deal with him again. So that's what they do. They sell his brother into slavery. Okay? Never see him again. Good riddance, golden boy. Hope your dreams work out for you. That's literally what they say. It says in Scripture. Send him on his way. Now here's the issue, guys. What time we got? I'm going to tap this in. Put this in half. You got God the Father who knows where Joseph is headed. He's 17 now, and his dad's doing a horrific job of raising him. He's not being prepared. So what does God the Father have to do? He's got to put him in the school of hard knocks. He's got to put him through the process. Okay? Now, let me stop right here because this is where it gets very personal for me. When I was a screw up, you guys know that. I told you about my story growing up, just a complete screw up. Did everything wrong, did everything for me. And so when I finally surrendered to the Lord and said, okay, God, you got me. I'm ready to change the world for you. As stupid as Joseph was. So I go into the ministry. God sends me to Summertown. He sends me to my own Egypt, to Summertown. Okay? And I'm having a terrible time there, guys. Terrible, awful. First 3 years were, for me, hell on earth, because I was getting broken down. Found out I didn't know anything about anything, didn't know how to do anything, didn't know how to do anything, nothing. And it was very hard for me to find that out. You know, it's like getting slapped upside the head and going, what does that mean to me? So I was in whine mode quite a bit. God, what are you doing? I thought I was awesome, and these people aren't acting like I'm awesome. Why isn't that happening? So I'm whining one morning, and it drove me into the presence of God, I'll tell you that, because I was like, God, please help me, give me something. I'm in so much pain. Please, God, give me something. And He would. He'd pour out stuff on me. I go, oh, thank you. It feels good. That's how I got to know the Lord. Because I was in so much pain that I was running to Him, and He'd pour out love and mercy and grace on the inside here when I would go spend time with Him in the Word. So I'd spend a lot of time with Him. And one morning I was spending time with Him, and He gave me this verse. I was reading the Amplified Bible, and it said this. In verse 17 it says, He sent a man before them, Joseph, who was sold as a slave. His feet they hurt with shackles, and he was put in chains of iron, which we'll read about a little bit later. And then it goes on to say, until the time His word, which was the prophecy that He gave His brothers about them bowing down to Him, until that word came to pass, it says that He was in chains of iron, and that He was in there until the iron entered into His soul. The word of the Lord tried and tested Him. And I was like, whoa, that sounds deep. It's pretty awesome. And then God spoke to me personally in that moment. He said, Paul, I am the iron that is holding you here. And I'm going to hold you here until I enter into your soul. And that was a powerful moment for me. It was another one of those, oh, thank you, God. Because it was hope. There was hope in that. I was still in pain. I was still an idiot. I still didn't know what I was doing. But God was present. And He was real. And He was speaking to me. And He was saying, just stick with this. You're in process. And that's when the Lord started teaching me about process. Like, wow, what do you mean process? I started seeing it everywhere then in Scripture, that every person that God ever used in Scripture, they went through this process of walking with Him that was not fun. It wasn't fun at all. But see, He was shaping them and preparing them. Now, let me put this in a context that you guys would understand it a little bit better. This is what you guys don't understand. In fact, I was just talking to a guy here that's been trying to get his life back together, and I mean, he comes from a horrible background and had, made every mistake he can possibly think of, had some terrible parents who treated him horribly. He's got a lot of wounds about that, and he's trying to get his life back together. And he made the comment to me, and I've heard this so many times. He made the comment to me, he's like, you know what, I'm trying to walk with God, and he says, everything in the world's falling apart on me. And I was like, buddy, it's because you're in process. And you need to understand that. And this is what we're not teaching people. Listen, guys, you'll hear this in your lifetime. Somebody will say, I decided to make a stand for the Lord. And I went down and I said, yes, Lord, you got everything of mine. Here it is. And then we have this thought that says, and now eagle's wings will sprout. And I will fly all over and be awesome for God. Oh my gosh. You know what you just signed up for? Basic training. I mean, it is the school of hard knocks. All this junk's going to come out of all kinds of places. Why? Because you said, hey God, I got you now. I'm ready to deal with all this crap in my life. And that's when it starts coming up. All the stuff that you've produced, you start facing it. Because God's like, look, you got me now. See, I'm with you. I'm a river of life. I'm a river of love. I'm a river of wisdom. I get to show you my ways now so you can face it all. That's the school of hard knocks. You just stepped into it. Now picture this, because Joseph has to go from spoiled brat. He ends up becoming the second most powerful man on the planet. Egypt is the world power at the time. And that's where he's headed. By the time he's 35, 40-ish, around in there, we don't know exactly, but so by the time he's 17 to when he's 35, let's say, he's going to be leading the known world with his decisions. Now, would you guys want a spoiled brat and that type of power?
No.
Why? What do spoiled brats do when you give them all the power in the world? They abuse it, they take advantage of it, they do it all for them, right? So God has to get this spoiled brat turned into a man that he can trust to do the right thing for everybody, not for himself. See? And that takes training. That's what maturity is. Maturity is that. I got a guy I listen to a lot, and y'all have heard about him. I know Jocko Willink. And he was a 20-year Navy SEAL. He led the most highly decorated unit through the Battle of Ramadi over in Iraq, which was an intense, I can't get into all that. But they're talking about, this is a man's man. And in his own testimony, not testimony in the Christian sense, but in his own, as he's telling his story, when he was 17, he talks about his 17 self, that he was just an idiot. He was just a hard-headed kid, rebellious, going to do the wrong thing, joking. He was, he didn't have the character that he has today, and then he got into the Navy and went into the Navy SEALs, and it's training upon training upon training upon training upon training, so that he could be the type of guy that could step into a situation in Iraq, in Ramadi, where they're literally taking a city that's completely taken by ISIS. They're just landed in there, and they've got to take that city one building at a time, hand-to-hand combat. I'm talking about intense, and I've read all about it. And he would talk about how the type of training exercises that they were put through. Now, why is he going through that? So that when he gets into that situation, y'all ever heard the fog of war? I can only imagine this, and it didn't take me long to figure this out, that I'd be the one that's crawling over in a corner, peeing on myself because guns are going off, right? The fog of war is this: when the guns start going off, confusion is what rules, right? Y'all know why that is? We're made in a certain way. When you're normal and everything's fine, you get plenty of blood flow in your brain, and you can think straight, and you're like, okay, I got to do this, got to do that. But if somebody were to come in here with a gun and start firing it, you'd stop thinking clearly. You know what you would be doing only? Running. Get away. See, what happens to you physiologically when a threat takes place? Your brain gets shunted of all blood. All the blood drains out of your brain and it heads to your limbs so that you can do this. It's called fight or flight, right? So see, when the fog of war kicks in, it's not a good thing. If you got to make really good decisions that are going to cost lives, and all the brain is drained out of all the blood's drained out of your brain, and you're supposed to run naturally, but you've got to fight and make good decisions. You got to be trained for that, right? And so in the Navy SEALs, they talk about, I've read a bunch of his stuff, so he talked about some of the training exercises that they would do. And they're not fair training exercises. What they would do is they would come up with a training exercise, and they'd say, okay, we're going to throw this at them, and we're going to do that, and then we're going to make this happen, and then they're thinking of the most unfair thing that they could throw at these guys. Why? Because it's a training exercise. And they want them to have to face things that are going to throw them off, that they have to make good decisions to work their way out of it. Now, if 17-year-old Jocko, had gotten into training and they're there in the training exercise and here this X factor comes in that they weren't expecting, and none of them say, whoa, stop. This is not fair. Y'all imagine a Navy SEAL stopping a training exercise just to have a little tantrum? No. You know why they don't? Because they know what's going on. They have an understanding. I am in training, and this training will help me when I'm in the real thing, right? And so they all go with it. They're like, it got me again. But see, every time they train, they're learning how to function against nature, which is just a run. But they're trained to not, and then they're trained to make excellent decisions in the midst of the fog of war. Does that make sense for training? Now, here's the difference, guys. When we say yes to the Lord, and then here comes training. Now, where does training come from? It comes from home. It comes from mom and dad. It comes from brother and sister. It comes from school. It comes from teachers. It comes from classmates. Then it comes from people that you don't even like. Then it comes from church. It comes from youth group. It comes from other idiots in your youth group. It comes from every single angle that you can imagine. And its purpose is to raise up a warrior who will act in the fog of war like a son of God would or a daughter of God would. And none of us are good at it. All of us are awful. But you know what we do? We stop training. And we go, this is not fair. And we point fingers and say, that idiot right there. That idiot is my problem. And this idiot. And since I'm on a roll, all of these idiots. My problem. If they would be different, then everything would be fine. That's what we do, guys. And that's why nobody grows. Nobody gets it. Nobody understands what in the world God is doing. He's trying to raise an army. But nobody understands that we've stepped into a process of God shaping and changing. I didn't know this. God had to lay this out clearly for me, and then it's in living color, like it's happening right now. It's happening. And after so many years of it, this was about 15 years ago, I understand it a whole lot more today. I can't say that it's a whole lot easier because God keeps on turning the screws just a little bit more. As soon as I get something under my belt, I'm like, hey, I'm all right. And then here comes something else I wasn't even ready for. No! See, but I've at least stopped going, this is not fair! Because I know what's happening. It's training, God. Yes, I do want that. Because I pray for it, guys. I'm like, God, I want to be a warrior who you can trust. I want to be able to stand as a son of God. So I say yes to this, and I even thank you for it. God wants to create in you and me warriors who look like Him. And this is the school of it. Look around the room. These are your people who are training you. We train each other. That's what church is about. Nobody at church knows this. They think it ought to be a place where they come and just love everybody and have a great time. No! It's training for reigning. And it's real. And if we'll get into the rhythm of it and say, yes, now teach me, Lord, help me to see this and understand what's happening. Change me. All of us have to be changed. So we have to be put through process. If we understand it, we can at least get with it. And then work through it a whole lot faster.